This is your business news now. Government and steel producers are scrambling to save the local steel manufacturing industry from collapse. The industry is reeling under pressure from low commodity prices and cheap imports from China.
Steel manufacturing is a key industry in South Africa. It contributes around 2% of the country's total economic output. Last year, it generated 80 billion rand in exports, which helped the country register a trade surplus. This despite being an industry in decline. And now things are getting worse. Kumba Iron Ore is shutting down its mine at Thabazimbi, and the country's second biggest steel producer, Everus Highveld, is also closing down its operations.
It's very tough. Again, if I can start with the world situation, there is huge overcapacity internationally. There's something like 2.4 billion tons of steel capacity. The demand is only in the order of 1.8. So you can imagine the oversupply. And the world economy is not growing fast enough to absorb everything, specifically the Chinese economy that's been driving the last 20 years continuously and progressively world demand, which has fallen off.
16,000 people were retrenched last year following the devastating AMCU strike in the platinum sector, which was followed by the crippling NUMSA strike in the automotive sector.
We had, of course, a very volatile last year. The second half of last year we had the mining strike, and as I said, mining is important for us, for 5 months, which ended in June. That caused all sorts of mayhem in production, and people held on to their staff. But then we had our own strike and the electricity disruptions that increased during the second half of last year.
Now, more jobs are on the line.
Capacity utilization is starting to slow down again. And we see inventories in the sector, which is the difference between production and demand, increasing. So there isn't enough demand or there's too much production. So we suspect that the middle half of this year production will decline further. And if that's the case, then it is a very serious situation in terms of employment. We also worried about investment in the sector, because why would there be investment if there is not a hope of a strong or a soon recovery in demand?
Communities around steel mills in various parts of the country are also facing a bleak future.
We've all heard about Thabazimbi, where that mine is going to be closed. It was expensive to produce there, and other circumstances just caused it to collapse. We know here in Van der Bijl and Vereniging it's important, and it's important in Malahleni, it's important in Newcastle. So these are massive drivers of those economies and the sub-industries supporting them. So it is really, in terms of a regional look at it, you're absolutely right, it can be devastating. We hope that they will only be scaled down and not complete closure.
The government has set up a task team involving industry players to look at urgent measures to save the crucial industry from collapse. Mbongini Mutua, SABC News, Johannesburg.